Imagine that as a man. Like you're supposed to be the lead of the household, and you can't really have full control or craftsmanship on whether this kid's supposed to go to a certain school, whether this kid's supposed to be at practice at a certain time, whether this kid's supposed to go to these certain events. You don't have full control of that. You have to go get say so from another person. But you're supposed to be looked at as the leader of everything. Hello, 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 my beautiful people. Welcome, welcome to another video. I wanted to react to this other video that we got going on here. Looks like it's with Anton Daniels, and it's about being a stepfather. And I thought I had a pretty interesting input that I could add to this, but let's react to this video together.
Doing this, I'm handling this. This is my village. To have another man that has come in and have any type of say so at all, I can see how that could be.
I
difficult.
definitely believe
that's
Spanish
assuming they
people
have-
prioritize
We got to
nuclear
think about it.
families.
I
Yeah.
want women to understand this. Just because a man has a penis, don't make him a man. He could be a male. There's not a lot. Most men aren't lying. Let's make sure that's understood.
Let's talk
Okay.
about
Right?
that.
So some men can raise another man's child because the real father ain't a lion. He's more like a gazelle. You know what I'm saying? The lion is now here, and I believe. Well, I mean, I believe in God, and I believe in everything is a reason, right?
Right.
And like my dad is a
Sorry, y'all. I just wanted to get down, make sure what he's saying is clear, so I can really. So
most
I'm gonna
men aren't
replay
lying.
that.
Let's make sure that's understood.
Let's talk
Okay.
about
Right?
that.
So some men can raise another man's child because the real father ain't a lion. He's more like a gazelle. You know what I'm saying? The lion is now here, and I believe. Well, I mean, I believe in God, and I believe in everything is a reason, right?
Right.
And like my dad is a bitch ass nigga. My step pop,
All right, before we get into him calling his daddy a bitch ass nigga and everything, I just wanted to get on the fact that he was saying that, that it takes a certain type of man to be able to raise another man's child, and which in most cases it definitely does. But you have unique cases where, the mother and father just wasn't getting along, or, it's probably better for them to be apart, and that father is still significantly in that child's life, and, the mom has moved on. Some dudes are just really, just to be honest, is simping. Like they don't really see their worth in themselves. They don't really maybe not have any worth in themselves. So they pretty much go for, a mother that already has a child. And let me clarify myself and say that I would say that for men that don't have any children, it'd be rare and in between that a man is taking care of a woman that already has a child with another man and he doesn't have any children. It would be rare for me to excuse that. Like if you couldn't have your own children or something like that, but every situation in this regard, can be quite unique. We just have to get to the meat of it. But just to go on more, no, I actually wanted to get on to the part of him calling his father a bitch ass nigga. That's pretty extreme, whether what his father did to him or whatever the case may be. I don't know him, but just from him saying that, I would assume there's healing that needs to be done there because, you know, I wouldn't say that to my real father. I've never met my biological real father, but I would never say something like that about him. I wouldn't say that nothing to that to him and to his face. Uh, the father that did raise me, that I grew up calling my dad, we've had a bunch of headbutts, and there was moments where me and my dad did not get along, but calling him a bitch ass nigga was just far out. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know what his father may have done to him, but I just really think, me personally, that's something very extreme for him to say. Just to be frank with it, I feel like a lot of cases, like it's very light what the situation is to give you the um just to give you the provocative to call your father a bitch ass nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, unless it's something where you got your daddy doing some real fuck shit, like some grape, or, you know, just out here killing people, murdering people, or, he was beating the hell out of your mom or something like that. I just really don't see that, man. That's on another level. But hey, who knows? Nobody really knows but him. So
he ain't playing. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you feel me? So like I was already one that wasn't playing coming out the woodworks.
Yeah.
So then if my dad was there, hypothetically, I would probably clash with him because he was already soft. You know what I'm saying? And I don't believe that just because you gave birth to something means that you are the best one to raise that.
Come on, let's talk
You know,
about that.
that person that you gave birth to, whether you're a man or a woman.
So you believe nurture versus nature?
Yes.
Because nurturing that child is more important than possibly more important than nature.
I believe that nature.
Absolutely.
See, here's the thing: we get
It's
so
crazy.
confused about nature as if you are the only one of this child. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 generations of nature within this child that you ain't exuding yet. You remember the Punnett Square? In the Punnett Square, you had a 1 in 4 chance of being something.
Yes.
Right? So this child can have the bottom right quadrant and you might have top left.
Yeah.
You ain't fit to to raise that child, to be honest. So maybe somebody else who is in that bottom right quadrant is going to be able to understand that man or that young woman or that young boy and really help them grow into what they need to be.
So you would advise your son to get with a woman that already have children.
If that
Children,
you would be okay with that?
Children,
remove yourself out.
I don't think nobody advises those scenarios for their
But see, the
children,
the
right?
problem is that
But sometimes it just happens because
men.
they just might be in love. You can't
No,
control
you
who
can't,
love.
because marriage is a business first. It's a business
To
first.
some.
We know statistics of what.
So I'm not finna disregard what God said in the dreadlocks. The lady to his right was saying, there'll probably be an instance where I would tell him to do that. That's crazy. Where you got your child, and I guess I'm gonna just go off the pretense or assume that they're talking about their kid don't have any kids, right? You know, yeah, I would tell my kid to go do something like that. That's crazy. That's crazy. Um, because your kid got their whole life ahead of them. See, what a lot of people don't understand is that truthfully, you having a child with someone else and bringing that into a new situation is baggage. Even if that other person have a child as well, that's baggage. And you guys have to sort out that baggage to make it work for your relationship. And sometimes it's not all cute and dandy. A lot of the times it's not all cute and dandy, especially if that other person is still involved in that child's life. There could be parenting issues. There could be issues between the ex-partners that are still tension there and stuff like that. Just so many things. And I'm gonna give you guys a perspective later on in the video of how I grew up a little bit and how there was tension in me being adopted. So this is one of those things, but I don't want to disregard what homie in the dreadlock said. That's not something we'd advise, but that is something that definitely happens. It's one of those things that do happen. People, end up in relationships where they feel like they're going off their feelings and emotions. They end up in these relationships with with people where they have kids. And Anton's also right on the other side of that too, because you can control that. You can control who you choose to be with, whether how you feel for them or not. You can still control who you decide to be with at the end of the day. You could truly love somebody, but choose not to be with them because that's the best option for them. So
What it is when men are where children are raised in certain type of household, we know what the statistics are, right? And so I'm not gonna sit here and say a man isn't a man based off of some criteria that we make up, right? Because I use data. The reality is this: what we are doing is excusing bad behavior. And instead of us going to the mothers and say, hey, why you not accountable for who it is that you decided to open up your legs to?
Bullshit.
Because we ain't having that conversation. The only thing we saying is, oh, that's a bitch ass nigga. But you opened up your legs to him. He wasn't a bitch ass nigga when you had sex
He
with
might
him.
have been.
When you know. But my point is
I mean, if we're
and that's your problem. Why are you having sex with bitch ass niggas? That just made you look stupid. He might have been. So that's how easy it is to get with you. I can be a bitch ass nigga and get between your legs and put a baby in you. That's where your standards are.
when we continue to do this, we validate bad behavior.
what
You
is the
can
bad
ta-
behavior?
Because you're saying that you can recover from this, when in
You can't.
reality we know statistically that child has a much greater chance of going to jail, a much greater chance of needing therapy, a much greater chance of joining a gang. He has a much greater chance of being less successful. And instead of us saying, hey, hold that accountable so that this don't happen to the
That's
next
from the-
generation.
I
That's
think
from
I'm missing
stepfather?
context.
No.
If what?
Now, this is where Anton, I feel like he missed it. And I feel like maybe they're talking over each other and they're kind of missing each other's points because, okay, think about it. If you're being a stepfather, you're actually giving that child a better chance to grow up and not be in those situations. And I know the statistics that he's talking about. I actually have a viral Instagram video on my Instagram, that kind of goes over this. This man breaks down all statistics of men and women that grew up without a father within their life or a mother without, you know, or without a mother, right? It goes over the statistics about those things. Now, if somebody comes and take place, whether the situation or whether he's being a quote unquote simp or, you know, just somebody that's not really taking regard for his own life of taking care of that child, um, I would I would say the statistics would be a lot better than that child growing up without no father figure at all. So that's why I feel like Anton missed me there, or maybe they're just really just talking over each other. They don't have really a specific topic of what this relationship where a mother has a child and the father's coming into the picture. They don't have a specific talking point to me. So they're kind of just talking over each other.
If
He
that's
has,
My
he has a
point
much greater
is
chance of doing all that. If what?
to say it's a guy's responsibility to raise this child based off of a village concept or a community concept, or because he's a real man, removes the accountability from the woman of actually making sure that she picked the right guy and to marry before she carried in the first place.
so what
Well, I
happens?
married before I carried, and
But
then I got a
but that's
divorce.
not the
Can I
norm,
speak
because
on
what
that?
I see on
Because
Instagram
I
and
have a
social media
stepfather. How
is
about-
people
I'm trying to
saying,
figure out what we talking
what
about.
I see
It's
on
a lot.
Instagram
Yeah,
and social
I'm
media is
lost
when
a
a
little
woman get pregnant, regardless of whether she married, it's congratulations, sis.
Okay.
That's what I see.
I
Okay.
agree. Listen,
Should we
we're
throw
not
stones
disagreeing.
at her?
I don't-
Absolutely. believe
Anton,
in-
shut up. You do not
I
believe
believe
that.
in
You said that.
shaming.
You said that.
100%.
Congratulating a woman, but if you want to throw accountability at anybody, throw it at the man that left
It's
the
a
family
small
unit,
minority.
right?
It's a
Mhm.
small percentage of men that's having the majority of the children. It's most black men are not having children out of wedlock. That is a falsehood. And so when we sit here, when we want to solve for a problem, we solve for the majority, not the minority. And when you look at the statistics, most black men are not having children out of wedlock. It's a small minority of men that's having the majority of the children with a whole lot of women. That's
And
the
is that
reality.
you got that from a
how do a
.org or a
man
dot?
how do a woman have a child without a wedlock without the man too?
What I'm saying is, if we got 99% of the men and we said we're gonna hold all of them accountable.
No, I'm saying like
I'm
if the
explaining
woman
it
had
to
the
you.
child at wedlock, she didn't have it by
I'm
herself.
explaining it
So
to you.
did he.
If we got 99%
Facts.
of men to do the right thing, it takes 1% of men to populate the majority of the women.
True indeed.
So even if you hold all men accountable, it doesn't solve for the problem.
No, it's not about all men. It's about holding everybody accountable.
We do, but men by default are automatically held accountable.
Let me go back to this stepdad situation real fast, because I have a stepfather, right?
Mhm.
But he didn't raise me. My grandfather raised me,
Mhm.
right? So I didn't personalize my stepfather because that's who my mom is married to.
Yeah, that's who your mom chose.
That's her relationship. I have examples around me that
Mhm.
I don't have to look towards him. His only job, honestly, for me, is just to be example of a good person, a human being,
Right.
period. I don't need him to be my father. I don't even need for none of that shit, right? It's just simply just be a good dude, treat my mom good. And I mean, I don't care what y'all going through.
But
Y'all not being
how
physical,
old
that's
were you
fine.
when he came into your life?
I was in middle school, so that's what, like
You was
12?
already big.
Well, I was big because I
You
was
didn't
probably
need-
I'm 6'5", bro. I've been big.
No, I'm saying you
I mean, bro, why you say that? Like that has nothing to do with nothing. That is not what he's talking about. You know that. I've been big, bro. What? Think he been in it,
older
bro?
as a kid. You
No,
had
I-
already
Middle
had whatever
schooler?
it was in you.
No, but what I'm saying is,
Now wait,
Fucking
now
middle
I
school.
know. Listen, now
What's
I know.
happening here?
Okay,
Well, I mean,
so
because 11 years old is
All
middle
all right,
school.
cool. All right, let's reset.
Mhm.
All right. So one of the facts that you gave in regards to children that statistically messing up more so, that usually comes from a single mother household, correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So if we take the conversation to it being a two-parent,
single mother household. So when I say two-parent household, I'm saying married,
okay,
having children,
so
raising those children.
cool. So let's take it to a two-parent household where one parent is a step parent.
Mhm.
That's still a two-parent household, right?
Yeah, but it's not the same.
You don't think so?
And
It's not the same, but the statistics are still greater for a kid to grow up with a stepfather or stepmother rather than growing up in a single parent household. It's a lot better. It's a lot better to grow up in that regard, especially if all people are co-parenting in a healthy environment. You know, uh, in some instances it can be unhealthy, but talking about having that kid having both parents there it's a better choice than growing up without a father figure or a mother figure within their life.
personally, again, I would never advise a guy. If this guy is single, he's taking care of business, he don't have no children and nothing like that. I'm not gonna sit here in good conscience and tell this man that he's supposed to get with a single mother. Absolutely not.
And that's cool.
100%.
But there's so many single fathers that get with single mothers. So many single fathers.
So we
I
just
think y'all
speaking
should have
about the,
preferences.
are we just speaking about the men who don't have children? Is that the reference? Or are you saying just all men,
Because I
even if they
understand the
come
men
in
that
with
doesn't have
children?
children, but there's so many single fathers that look towards.
I mean,
Like I
yeah,
said, the majority
we
of
also
men
have to be
don't have
realistic
children out of
here.
wedlock.
Okay.
And then there's not so many single fathers. It's a small percentage because what he said is true. There's a small percentage of men that are actually getting to sleep with most of the women. So, that kind of breaks that there.
Where are you living, right? We're living in America, and 1 out of every 4 kids are born with a single parent.
Yeah.
Or raised with a single parent,
Mhm.
right? And the rest of the world, it's at an 8%. So we're about 3 to 4 times more
Mm.
likely to have a child be raised out of wedlock or with only one parent, right? So when you look at the numerics, you're more likely than not to run. If you're a guy who doesn't have any kids, you're more likely than not, depending on your age, to run into a woman that has a kid,
Mhm.
right? So I don't think we're advising anybody. Hey, I advise you to go find a woman that has a kid with another man.
Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is that the offer's not on the table, depending on her behavior. Now, if she has 3, 4, 5 baby fathers, I would never advise that, right?
Mhm.
Sorry to those women. But if you have one man you had one man and now you have one child with that man, and maybe even 2, and that's something that you want to tie up your boots and walk in the path you want to walk
That's
down,
crazy.
I would say go ahead.
But that's why I brought up single fathers,
That's
because when you see a
crazy.
woman that
Oh,
is a single
let me back
mother,
up. Let me back
Yeah.
up. Sorry,
child
y'all.
with that man,
I just want
to
to
run
make
into
sure
a
I'm getting
woman
what he's
that has
saying
a
is
kid.
clear.
Mhm.
right? So I don't think we're advising anybody. Hey, I advise you to go find a woman that has a kid with another man.
Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is that the offer's not on the table, depending on her behavior. Now, if she has 3, 4, 5 baby fathers, I would never advise that, right?
Mhm.
Sorry to those women. But if you have one man you had one man and now you have one child with that man, or maybe even 2, and that's something that you want to tie up your boots and walk in the path you want to walk
That's
down,
crazy.
I would say go ahead.
But that's why I brought up single fathers,
That's
because when you see a
crazy.
woman that
Yeah,
is a single
it
mother,
is crazy, bro.
that child has a father,
yeah,
right? Who's a single father.
I don't know if he was talking about a guy that had no children and was trying to get in that type of situation, but I would not recommend that at all. At all. I wouldn't recommend it at all, man. And say if like he couldn't have a child, like I'd probably recommend him adopting a child with a person rather than getting with a person that already has a child, because more than likely that father is still involved and you're going to have to deal with that father. There may be parenting clashes, maybe religious clashes, timing clashes, what school the child's want to go. It could be so many clashes that you guys can bump heads on, man. And you would hate to be in that situation. You got the situation with the dudes in the barbershop, they arguing.
I told you that shit. I told you that shit. I told you that shit. It's your first time. Hey, let me go ahead and call him.
And so many people was getting mad at the biological father for acting like that. But here's the thing, he may be in the wrong, but you guys don't know what happened before or after that video. So we don't know what happened before, right? That child probably could have been on punishment where nah, he can't go get a haircut because he been acting a fool at school. Or I said I was gonna take him to go get his haircut. Why is he taking to go get his haircut? Why he doing it without my permission? So there could have been a lot of things that happened there. We don't really know. But that's just one of those clashes you're going to deal with once you're dealing with someone that already has children. You don't got no children. Like your life is already ahead of you. There's so many things you can do, business opportunities, school, starting your like it's just so many things, job opportunities that you could really fulfill. Um, but you're kind of sacrificing that, you know, for baggage, just to be honest.
As a father,
Yeah.
right? Who's a single father?
That's insane.
Like, are we not putting those two things
I
together?
got a question for you. So say you got your son, right?
Mhm.
You going by your principles. You don't want him to date a young lady that has a child, whatever, right?
Mhm.
So what if he do anyway?
What do you mean? What if he do?
So, okay, so this actually is a perfect example. My dad feels like you. My dad, he used to always tell my brother, you are a first round draft pick. You don't have no kids. I bought you a brand new car. You just moved to a new city. I put you some money in the account. Like you were a first round draft pick. You pick you somebody that da-da-da. When I was younger, I used to be like, that's such a fucked up way to say things. And I don't necessarily align with the way that you're delivering it, but I can see as someone that is active in step parenting and understand the difficulties of it. I can understand the foundation of the message. I do think that people can find love in multiple places, but I do think that when you have a prepackaged family, it can be a little bit rougher at times to figure out getting through situations or even
It's hard to figure out
Absolutely.
situations when you're with your husband.
honestly.
When you have kids with your husband,
Honestly.
it's hard to figure out situations then too.
Yeah.
When you have
It's harder to figure out in situations where you're dealing with other people's children. It's so much harder. So much harder. You were better off figuring it out with that relationship than trying to figure out in another. Really. Because it's not just about you and your feelings, it's about those kids and that person you're about to be with. See, a lot of people really just think about themselves when they talk about these situations or go through these situations. They're trying to do what's best for them. But you can't think like that no more once you start a family, once you have children, once you have someone that you said your vows to. That's why it's really important to court the person that you with as well. Because sure, the person you with could be an asshole or he could be conniving or quote unquote narcissistic, like all the women like to say all the time. This is why you court them. Back in time, you always had the father that really asked the boy that was trying to date the daughter the questions and get to know him and stuff like that. And back in the day, you also had shotgun weddings. You had repercussions for having sex without marriage. So that made people very conscious to not do things, outside of what your parents told you to do. So
family members coming from both sides and then putting this and that, that's a difficult situation. They're all difficult situations.
For me, I think the difficulty sometimes that I might have, and this is honestly just me being vulnerable.
Yeah.
The difficulties that I see sometimes in being a bonus parent is no matter what you do, no matter what you say, you're not there. You're not going to ever be their parent.
Right.
So sometimes it's like, okay, like for example, the baby is homeschooled.
Mhm.
I want all three of the kids to be homeschooled because I feel like that would be best. That's not my call.
Right.
As difficult as that is sometimes for me just to swallow, sometimes I really want to just have the conversation.
and imagine that as a man. Like you're supposed to be the lead of the household, and you can't really have full control or craftsmanship on whether this kid's supposed to go to a certain school, whether this kid's supposed to be at practice at a certain time, whether this kid's supposed to go to these certain events. You don't have full control of that. You have to go get say so from another person. But you're supposed to be looked at as the leader of everything. Maybe your parent tactics is different from the other person's parent tactics. But that child's supposed to look at you as a leader. No, that child is going to be confused more than likely. more than likely that child's going to be confused, because more than likely everybody's not co-parenting as they should. They're not co-parenting as it's best fit for the children. Most people don't do that. They don't.
Of yo, we should just make this shift, but that's not my call because I'm just the bonus mom.
Right.
I can understand the wanting to protect your child from
I'm sorry, but with that same example, say you had all three with your husband, and your husband is firmly against homeschooling, and you're not. Wouldn't you
that would be
run into that same situation?
Yeah, but fortunately, before me and him had Chan, that's stuff that we talked about,
Right?
And we discussed that. So, but that definitely would be a hard thing if we weren't aligned in that space. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to also stop thinking that you could be a great parent and your child is not receptive to your parenting.
Period.
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes we try to,
That was fire.
you feel me? Oftentimes we try to sit here and be like, oh, it's my fault because such and such and such, this child has grown up to do.
I kind of disagree with that. You can be a great parent. Like I wouldn't hold myself in regard as a great parent if my kids are out doing things that they're not supposed to do, that I didn't raise them to do. Like I go to the podium like I'm the quarterback of a football team. It's like I take responsibility. Like I was playing poor. I was parenting poor. You know what I'm saying? There were things that they were doing that I wasn't catching. Maybe I wasn't over them enough. Maybe I wasn't conversating with them enough. Maybe I wasn't explaining to them enough. There's always something that you can always get better or improve on. And, you know, kids obviously make mistakes, you know what I'm saying? That does happen. But, when we really know when kids are really acting out in bad behavior, it's really when it's constant, it's consistent behavior that's going on that you consistently have to correct. That's when you really have to question, okay, what am I doing wrong as a parent? Honestly, you really have to question that. So I just wouldn't. I don't agree with what he said there.
Do whatever, become whatever. That's completely outside of how you raised them. There's kids that or adults now that were kids and really had two great parents, but yet they wanted to do all the other things that was going to make them a bad person
for no reason.
I think that's-
I don't know why
that's
I
a
did
lot of-
that.
and it's not
but
their,
it's so true.
That's
it's
a
not
lot.
their parents' fault. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
not.
It absolutely
I
is.
think that
It isn't.
Absolutely.
what happens is
It
at
is.
some point in
seriously.
time
It isn't.
when kids become adults, we don't sit here and we
Niggas
actually
start talking about like,
reflect
man,
on the
these niggas,
sacrifices that were being
these
made
niggas
with
on that
appreciation.
bullshit.
We actually do it in the sense of, I wish I had this, this, and this. And in America,
The documentary that we're about to watch explores the hot button.
personally, we already exist in a world where we have a disease of more. We always want more. We always want something that should have been over here or something that was over
It's
there.
so true. That's
But
just
it's
with
never
human
a
beings
grateful.
too.
There's never no gratefulness to anything. You feel what I'm saying? Like my mom, she worked 3-4 jobs, right? My sister felt like my mother wasn't there a lot.
Yeah.
So my sister started acting out. Me, right? We're only about 1.5 years, 2 years apart. Me, I looked at it as, wow, my mother is sacrificing a lot. Okay, I am appreciative, but my sister was resentful. It's the same parent doing the same exact job to both kids, but one kid is going to
One saw
learn
it
to be
differently.
grateful, and one is going to learn to
It's
to have
so
a
true.
problem
It's a
with it.
cycle,
You need
though.
two
It's not-
parents inside of the
It's
household.
not the
It's a blueprint for what success looks
It
like when it
isn't.
comes to yes, it is.
It
It
Listen,
is.
I got
It
3
is.
brothers.
It is. And and I hate to just call it out, but a lot of people will say stuff like that just because they probably in that type of situation. They want to absolve themselves of the responsibility of taking responsibility because they probably they in a situation like that. They want to absolve themselves from the responsibility because they in a situation like that. Honestly, and that's just the truth matter about it. Like it is a blueprint. blu- There is a blueprint to raising successful children. There's a blueprint to everything else in life. If you're a believer, if you're a Muslim, you're a Christian, you're a Catholic, they give you the word of God. You're a Muslim, they give you the Quran and the Bible. And it gives you the blueprint of how you should live life. not to steal from your brother, not to murder, not to kill, not to lie. Like it gives you a blueprint of how to really thrive within life. Be at peace. There's always a blueprint to something. So to say there isn't, it's crazy. You just don't want to take responsibility for whatever situation that you have within your life right now.
All
Okay.
of us is married. None of us ever been divorced. 9 uncles on my mother's side, none of them ever been divorced.
Good.
No children ever been raised out of wedlock. There is a blueprint to
For
what's
your family,
that's
that
a-
worked very
That's
well.
called a blessing.
There is a no, it's not. It's called being intentional.
Facts.
It's called, and let me tell you something. Even scripturally, and we raise our kids based off of the scriptures. When you put it in them young, it never departs from them. Even if you allow for them to fail in controlled environments, they never depart from it. They always come back to the thing that you put into
I
them
agree with that.
when they're young.
I
And
agree
so
with
for
that.
us to sit here and have this conversation would basically tell me that y'all just believe differently than me.
Absolutely.
Because what
We're
we
different
do,
people.
and that's fair.
No, everybody
but
believes
what I'm saying
differently.
Yeah,
is,
she
but
kind
what I'm
of, she kind of pressed. Uh, you know, I ain't gonna lie. It would seem to me she a little pressed about what he's saying. Uh, just because it's hitting the nerve. Sometimes the dog that get hit by the stone, they holler. So it's one of them things that I just feel like it, cause she got a little smart aleck on her. You know.
saying is, everything that I hear communicated right now is a remix. America is this. No, there is a fundamental way, and other cultures even understand it, that's not even having as many options as us. There's a fundamental way that you go about being successfully married, being successfully able to raise your children, so on and so forth. And we've departed from that, and we keep remixing it and saying, well, it's okay for you to go out there, fail, create a whole nother family, come back, and then you able to redeem yourself. That's not the conversation that we should be having. Instead, we should be having a conversation based off of proactively preventing ourselves from even getting in this situation in the first place. But instead, we keep remixing and expecting our children to not pay for the sins of their fathers and their mothers. Our children are nothing more than a reflection of the failures of the people that came before them. That's it.
Yikes.
I
So,
disagree.
so when
thought the question was
when I
about
said
stepdaddies.
earlier,
I didn't know we
when I
was
said in a
this
different
crazy.
show that I'm the man that I would want my daughter to marry, it's a reason for that. I don't make sacrifices, or I don't come into this whole situation looking to apologize. I'm looking to validate.
So
I'm
how
looking to remove every excuse that you have from being able to not make the right decision. And you often at times make the right decision every time, because you are going to be a reflection of what me and your mother put into you. That's it.
How
Ain't
do
no
we?
other way to go around it.
I love the thought of that
It sounds
mindset.
No,
poetic.
it's
It
exactly the way
sounds
it
like a
goes.
really
Okay,
good
question.
thing.
So
In
you
theory,
said
that's
said
beautiful.
preventative. If the conversation needs to be about preventative actions to not make families that could be potentially broken and things like that, what are the preventative actions that we need to discuss?
Oh, it's
then?
very simple. It goes back to the original marry before you carry. We need to stop dating, stop experiencing a bunch of people, stop having a bunch of sex, stop putting yourself in a position to have to sacrifice.
So if we stop dating, how do we get to marriage?
You shouldn't even be, and I talked about it.
Arranged.
Yeah,
Well, let's talk
I
about it.
asked him that.
You shouldn't be dating. You shouldn't even be opening up yourself up to all of these spirits from different men in the first place.
How do you meet your husband if you don't date?
You already probably met him. He's the person that has your best interests at heart. He's the person that already was your best friend. He's the person that had your best interest. Most women
How
skip
did I
over.
meet?
He not answering the question. So Anton, you got to answer the question directly, brother. Because now they
Said
Most
hypothetical
women skip
person.
over the man that they were supposed to marry already. That's the key. And then y'all pick the guy that y'all want. He ruins you, and then you expect for another guy to come back and pick up the pieces for you. That's not the way to do it. We remixing what relationships are supposed to be. You ain't even supposed to be dating until
So
you
you
get
met him
married.
at a quick trip, but you never dated him, but you were supposed to
No,
marry him.
you was raised with him. You were around him. You went to school with him.
I promise you I didn't.
Most people.
I swear to God, that's not true.
Because I'm
Wait, I
so
got a
looking at
question
my
for you.
memory book like.
I really do like your train of
man, I see what he's trying to say, but he's just kind of missed the ball with it. But he I see what he's trying to say though. Because there's some truth in that sense, right? Like, you know, what he's really trying to say is that nice guy that you looked over. Because there's this scenario where like the girl, she wants the bad boy in high school. She's chasing after the bad boy. She get pregnant by him. But there was always that nice guy in high school that always checked on her, that I always really liked her. But she never gave him the time of day. She never gave him the time of day ever. And, now she want to end up bouncing back to the nice guy when he's all out and about being successful and married to someone that's even way greater than who you could have ever been. I see where he was trying to go there. What I would say, far as, finding a person that you want to be serious about, not really playing with or anything like that, I would just say courting. Uh, when you first meet a person, letting them know that you're serious about dating, that you don't just date just to date. Like, I really want to get to know you. I want to really get to know your morals, your values, where you want to go in the next 2 years, 5 years, 6 years. Like, I really want to get to know who you are. And this doesn't take a whole bunch of time. Like, it's really just sitting down with one another, courting one another, having serious conversations and asking each other those serious questions. How many kids do you want to have? What you want to do for a career? When do you expect to buy a home? When do you expect to get in your career? Like, it's having those serious conversations. How do you want to raise your children? What church you want to go to? What do you believe in? It's really courting one another, because in dating nowadays, we just really going off emotion, how we feel for a person. Oh, she looks really good. Oh, he looks really good. Oh, he makes me feel this way. Oh, she makes me feel this way. But the thing about it, looks don't last forever. Your feelings don't last forever. Your feelings go through the motion, and as you get older, your feelings go down the drain. So you have to think about the things that are really important. It's the things that you can't see. Who are you when no one else is looking? What is your character? What is your character? What are your morals? What are your values? What do you care about the most? Are you a great father? Do you have the potential to be a great father? Do you have the potential to be a great mother? Those are the things that are most important. So, what I would say, just to back my boy Anton up, is courtship is one of the most important factors. Just really courting the person that you're meeting, whether that's at a church or uh, whether that's at the library, whoever it is, because it's off first sight. You looked at them, you're attracted to them, so you go up, you speak to them. It's really getting to know those person beyond the means of what you see and how they make you feel. It's really sitting there and thinking logically, because if you don't, you really can mess yourself in the long run. A lot of people are getting divorced in here in America because they're skipping over these important factors when it comes down to getting married.
I just feel as if I got a couple questions.
Go
First
ahead.
and foremost is, how old are you?
41.
Okay, strike one. Second question, where are you from?
Detroit.
Born and raised. Strike two.
Mm.
When you understand the world is different in every area.
I didn't travel the world.
Strike one, strike two. That's crazy. Let me see where you're going.
Yeah,
with
but
it.
at what age?
My whole life.
What age?
My whole life.
Give me your first age where you actually,
13.
you was 13. No. Give me your first age where you experienced life as a man in a different state. Outside
13.
of the Midwest
Oh,
area.
as a man?
As a man.
18.
18. Where'd you go?
Ohio.
Outside the Midwest.
Outside the Florida.
Okay.
19.
19. Who are you with?
My father.
As a man, by yourself. I have to do this over with you because we could go back and
What do you
forth.
But you keep moving the goalpost though. It sounds like you're trying to disqualify him. That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like you're just trying to disqualify him from the conversation. But it doesn't even matter if you had me on there. Like, I have a perspective too. I'm not dating a person that has children already or married to a person that has children already, but I have a certain perspective too. Because even though I may not be in that situation myself, I grew up in that type of situation where I had my father taking care of me, even though he wasn't biologically my father. So I can give you a certain perception. Everybody have a perception or insight they can give that can include in the conversation. And it sounds like he's just trying to disregard that. And to be honest, it's a little disrespectful because, yeah, they're doing
as
the
a man
show.
by
As a man, as an adult, I'm not talking about with your daddy on your side. I'm not talking about with your mother on your side. I ain't talking about your uncle, your cousin. When did you take your nutsack and run around by yourself as a man
that's
with a friend in a
crazy.
different place? At what
I
age?
don't know
What
if
a
he
friend?
did that because he got
I got married
married.
at 22 years
But
old.
this
big
is
dog.
this is what I'm
I
trying
got
to.
married at 22. I was
Exactly.
intentional.
So
I
this,
chose my
hold
wife when I met her in high school.
on, listen. All I'm doing is asking you questions.
I know, but I'm telling you that
Okay.
I don't
So
put myself in a
much.
position
So what I'm
to make
what I'm trying
mistakes.
to
It's a
tell you,
difference.
but no. The difference is this: you got married at 22 years
That's
old,
right.
20 fucking years ago, bro.
Correct.
You understand the world's not the same then?
Let me tell you
I
something.
got
The
married
word-
at 22
no,
as well.
Wait.
The word don't change ever.
The
It's the
word don't-
same way it was yesterday as it is today.
Not
the
true.
method by which you go about being successful is the same.
So we're
You can
still
re-
slaves.
Listen,
I get what you're
I tell
saying.
you what. I tell you what.
I get what you're saying.
She just pressed, bro, because she just saying shit off the wall. She was trying to agree with homie, and I try to be fair and unbiased about when people are saying something that's crazy. I feel like I've been fair, throughout this whole video about what everybody's saying. She's just being biased because she don't like where he's coming from. She don't like his perspective, and she don't like that he's indirectly holding her accountable for the actions she may have done in her life. That's what it just seems like to me. I may be wrong, but it just seems like there's some tension there.
Listen, you telling me that it don't work, right?
No, I'm not. You're not letting me
telling me
tell.
that-
You're not
okay, go
letting me
ahead.
tell
I'm
you.
sorry.
Okay, wait.
Because
I want
my
to get
friend
back.
as well.
Let me take the conversation back to this because I had some questions. I had some stuff on my card that I want to talk about. Okay.
I'm actually gonna end this video here, losing a lot of time. But I just wanted to give a perspective on how I was raised, how I grew up, right? And it's not necessarily like my dad, the person who I grew up calling my dad, he took over, he started dating a woman, and she was my mother. Like, no, I was adopted. My mother had me. I was the fourth child, the last one, and she couldn't really take care of me. Fourth, fifth, sorry. So she couldn't really take care of me, so she gave me to my aunt. I grew up calling my aunt my mother, and the man she was married to, my father. He was really my uncle. But to me, he's dad. That's dad to me. He raised me. He raised me to be the man that I am today, right? And I remember going through so much turmoil as I was getting older because there was a point where my biological mother, she wanted me back. You understand what I'm saying? Like there was times she was talking about coming taking me. There was times where she was arguing with my mother about taking me back. And my aunt, really, but I could grow up calling her mom. My aunt was not going to let that happen because she knew that that wasn't the best life for me just because of what my brothers and my sister was going through. It was a lot for them. They were having to do shit. They were having to be grown at a really young age. You understand what I'm saying? They were having to be grown at a really young age. Like they were doing some shit out here in South Dallas. So she didn't want me to live that life. So she fought for me to stay, um, with her and my uncle or father, right? And I just remember him going through so much shit that he really didn't have to, and I'm thankful that he did step up to the plate. So I see that, right, and I understand that, and I think about me like kudos to my dad for doing something like that. I'm not going to say that's never something that I would never do, but I would never recommend for that for someone. I would never recommend it, especially if you don't have children, especially if you don't have children. Now, my situation is quite unique. You understand what I'm saying? But I'm just saying I'm giving you guys a perspective of how bad things can happen when you're saying that I'm going to be the person that take care of this other person's child, even though that other person is still necessarily involved in a way or wants to be involved in a way. It can get bad. You understand what I'm saying? There's fathers or stepfathers that ended up hurt or dead because of the situation they get into. You understand what I'm saying? So if you guys are single out there, you don't have any children, don't throw your life away. If you're one of those people that's, you're in between the cracks, like you're somebody like I have a friend that can't have children, and I didn't understand it at first, but he couldn't have children, right? So he ended up getting with a girl that already has two children. In that perspective, I can kind of understand that. You know what I'm saying? Kind of understand that because I'm pretty sure he probably go through situations himself, being a stepdad now. But that's just one of those things, man. I would not recommend that. Definitely would not recommend that for people that definitely are growing up, or that don't have any children of their own. And if you are going to go through those type of situations, there really needs to be even more heavy courtmanship or courtship, uh, you know, going forth with that relationship, because you're raising somebody else's children now, or you got children, they're raising your children now. They got to deal with somebody else. So there just needs to be a conversation with everybody involved, so that way everybody's on the same page. Because if everybody's not on the same page, shit can get really bad. But that's another video for you. Appreciate you watching the video. Leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Should a guy be taking care of another person's children? Should a woman be taking care of another man's children? Let me know what you think. I'm curious. Much love and peace. We out.